I never would have thought that I'd be here making a YouTube video about a dark romance, which was so good that put me in a reading slump that is not even funny, I swear. Привет! Спасибо for clicking on this video. I'm Claire, and if you're wondering why I've used Russian words, then it's because the book I'm going to talk to you about today, it's set in Russia. But first things first, let's contextualize a bit. The Darkest Temptation is the first installment in the Maid series that is composed by loosely linked standalones, because the first one is about the Italian mafia. The second one, there is also the Italian mafia, but the love interest is Russian, and he is the brother of the love interest of Darkest Temptation, which is Ronan. And then we have Mila, who is the MC of this book, who is also Russian, but she is not really in touch with her roots, because she grew up in America. Her father kept her in the dark about her family and everything. She has never met her mother or never been in Russia and whatever. So the premise is that Mila has lived in a golden cage all her life, so much so that her father has chosen for her a husband, basically, and she's tired because she doesn't have agency, basically. And so she decides to take matter into her own hands and buys a ticket to Moscow. The reason is that she knows her family is from Russia, and she knows that her father must be in Russia too at the moment, because he has been absent for months, didn't even come back for her birthday. So, she's tired of just spending her days with her bodyguard, even, and her betrothed, basically, Carter, who, nah, arranged marriage is not a trope for this book. So she goes to Moscow, but things don't go as she thought they would, because ever since she stepped foot into Moscow, danger befell her from every corner. And the reason why she meets Ronan is because of this danger. Okay, this is the premise. I won't say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but you should check the trigger warnings for this book, because it's a dark romance and it gets very dark in the second part of this book. So I'm going to tell you the tropes just to clear the air. This is a kidnapping situation, a bit of Stockholm syndrome, so captor-captive relationship, basically, even though it doesn't start this way. But it's the main characteristic of Mila and Ronan's relationship. There's also an age gap, but it's not that important. It's 12 years, so it could be bigger. But if you're not into that kind of stuff, then this is not for you. But it gets dark, so I want to be clear on that. Dark, very, very dark. But it's a mafia romance, so you cannot expect it from it to go dark. And in fact, the plot twist, well, it's not really a plot twist, but the dark twist that the book takes in part 2 was expected. You cannot see it coming. You know that it's going to come. It needs to come. But again, if you're not into this kind of stuff, this whole series is not for you. Now, my thoughts. Try not to make any spoilers. So I was a bit hesitant to start this book in the first place, because I didn't like the Mendes Obsession, which is the second book in the Maid series. I kinda hated it. And Christian is the love interest of the Mendes Obsession, is Ronan's brother. So I was kind of wary, because I was expecting to find the same kind of not character per se, but basically the same context, okay? Because Ronan is in the Russian mafia. Christian is not exactly connected to Bratva. He's kind of on his own, but he's basically a mafioso. So but I was surprised. I was surprised by how much I actually loved this book. It was insane. It was insane. I'm rereading it right now. I haven't been able to start another book ever since I finished this one. Like, Mila and Ronan are all I can think about. Mila, Ronan, Ronan, Mila. I love them. I love them. So let's start with Mila, okay? As an MC, I love her. I loved her from her first sentence. Basically, the book starts with her point of view, and I just fell in love with her immediately. She is funny, she's witty, she's smart, she's vegan, she is an idealist, an ecologist. She fights for what she believes in, even though kill them with kindness is basically her slogan. But she's grateful, and even through this whole ordeal, meeting mafia men, being kidnapped and everything, she never loses her grace, and her strength come from that place, from that grace that she never loses, and it's amazing. I usually people believe that strength is a more muscly, violent kind of strength, basically. But I honestly believe that the strength that comes from being kind, even though people are being rude to you, or you are in a hard situation, or always trying to be polite, to treat people with kindness, that kind of attitude toward the world. It actually requires more strength that beating someone up, for example. And that's Mila. That's Mila. So I just I related to her so much during the whole book, and my feelings developed with her alongside her. So everything she was feeling for Rona is basically what I was feeling for Rona as I read, which is absurd. Like I can't put into words how much I enjoyed her. Okay. And then we also have the fact that her chemistry with Ronan is so palpable that if I wasn't physically holding the book in my hand, I would just look around in my room and look for them, because it was just like so palpable. That much chemistry. It was fire. Fire. So then we have Ronan, okay? It can be a bit too much. He's a love interest in a dark romance. Again, I'm going to highlight this because it's fundamental, and it's basically everything that his character stands for, because he's in the mafia. He doesn't believe in kill them with kindness, obviously. So he's all ice, and it takes a while for him to warm up to Mila, even though she gets under his skin pretty quickly, you know. But yeah, so the thing is that when I first read it, up until the 20% of the book, I was completely in love. I was hooked. I was loving it, everything. I didn't have any complaints. Then the book took a dark twist that, as I said before, it was expected. It needed to happen. I knew it was going to come, but it got dark very quickly, very fast, and very dark. So I was bit, okay, so how is this going to play out? What can I expect from this situation? What can I expect from Ronan and all that kind of stuff. And so again, I want to say that it went dark, but at the same time, it wasn't as dark for me to actually have a problem with it, because the situation that Mila finds herself in with Ronan as her captor is, I was familiar with it. When I was a teenager, there were basically only captor-captive fics on Wattpad, so I was very familiar with this situation, with this relationship. It didn't bother me in the least. And there is a moment in the book in which Ronan kind of toes the line to being too much, like going over the edge and being irredeemable for Mila and also for us as readers. But he doesn't. At least I didn't feel like he did. So you you can expect too much by this kind of man, honestly. So yes, he's toxic. Everything about this book is toxic. Ronan can be a bit toxic. He is basically for the vast majority of the book. But the situation calls for it. The trope is basically this. It was what I was expecting, what I expected, what you would expect from a dark romance. So it wasn't too much. So for me, it didn't make me uncomfortable. I don't have a problem with what Ronan does, but I can see why it could be too much for someone. So yeah, basically, Ronan is a bit much. He can get much, but it wasn't too much for me. So it really depends on what you're comfortable with. And everything. Like, for example, the second book in this series, The Madness Obsession, we have Gianna and Christian. Christian is, as I said before, he's a bit of his on his own. He is in America. He works with the Italian mafia statutorily, but he's not a mafioso. He does his own thing, basically. But Gianna is connected to the Italian mafia. She is a woman. She is not actively engaged with the business side of being a mafia. She's just a pawn. And the thing that bothered me was that she didn't have much agency at all. Like, not only in the mafia, but with Christian too. He's the it was the typical possessive, jealous macho man that you expect from a mafia romance, but there was something off about their whole dynamic. I don't know. For me, at least, I know that people loved the second book more than they did this one, the Darkest Temptation. So again, it's a matter of taste. And the reason why I also didn't like the Madness Obsession, and why I'm not going to read the first book, I don't remember the name of the first book, but I'm going to put it here, is because it's basically in the Italian mafia, and that makes me really uncomfortable. So again, you should just check the trigger warnings, and if everything that I've told you makes you uncomfortable, or it's not your cup of tea, then there are plenty of other books that you can read in the meantime. So yeah, it was pleasantly surprised of liking this book so much, because I kind of feel bad that I didn't like the Madness Obsession that much, but it was well written. Even the Madness Obsession was well written, and I like the banter and between Gianna and Christian, just as I like the banter between Mila and Ronan, even more so because I just fell in love with Mila, and I also like Ronan, so there's that. So yeah, this book checked all my all my boxes. The reason why I gave this book a 4-star rating. I don't know, I don't remember, but I'm telling you now that it's a 4-star rating. The reason why I didn't give it a 5 stars is because of that dark twist that the book took very quickly, and it got very dark. Like, you blinked, you turned the page, and then boom, you were in a whole other whole other situation, whole other context, with another kind of dynamic. So it kind of almost threw me off my feet. But because he didn't get too much, so I was never uncomfortable while reading. So yeah, 4-star. So let me know if you have read this book, if you liked it, if you have read the series and loved it, or you hated it, so we can chat in the comments. And you can also find my other reviews on my Instagram or on my Goodreads, and hope to see you in my next video. Bye!